All right, welcome everyone. This video is on a Walker mower as usual. We are going to install a new GHS blower. Just did a video on replacing the hydro right hand side. Check that out if you haven't seen it already. But I wanted to do a separate video because it's probably not a lot of people that are changing them both at the same time. So anybody's looking for a video on how to replace your hydro, I already got that up, and this one's going to be about changing out the blower. So the only thing that's been done already is I've taken the deck off, which if you have a Walker mower, I would assume you know how to take your deck off. And I've removed this front shroud. There's 3 7/16 bolts. I actually removed this when I did the hydro and didn't put it back on because that would just be silly. But you can see there's a flange there, there, and there. And this is kind of the chute that guides the plastic chute right here into the blower. So we've got that off. That needs to be taken off in order to be able to pull this out. You're actually going to pull it out through the bottom, and you can see there's a cross member right there, and if you didn't remove that, you wouldn't be able to get this out. So it's pretty simple. There's a bracket on the bottom with a couple of bolts that's connected to the blower. Then there's 2 long 7/16 bolts that go through here, and your belt, which you're going to pull off obviously. So we are going to need to jack the mower up, or at least get the mower up off the ground enough to be able to take this blower out from underneath. So we want to get it up a good 8 inches or so. So I'm going to go ahead and jack it up now and see what I can do for that. Actually, use 2 jacks. I think what I'll do is put some lots on the wheels. That'll be go. Alright, let me show you what I did to jack this up. Of course, it's pretty easy for me because I've got an assortment of jacks and jack stands. But in the back here, I'm actually going to give this another pump or two. Up there. And then this is where I set up the jack stands. They're under these brackets for the deck arms. You can see right there. But inside of these limiter bars, so it can't slide out. Kind of like traps the jacks in there. As you can see, so that gets a nice tight. And now we should be up no problem to be able to pull that blower out and access everything from the bottom. As you can see right here, this is the first bracket that we need to remove right here. And then this is one of the 2 7/16 long bolts that we need to remove. And then of course the belt. There's 1 7/16. Another one in the back side. Okay, there's number 2. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and remove this. It's a nut and a bolt. That was 5/8. And I believe the nut on the other side is 11/16. And we got another one right here. I believe it's 9/16. Both sides, the nut and the bolt right here. Okay, so now technically it should loosen up, but we've got the tensioner in the way to deal with. So we're just going to remove that whole tensioner altogether. There we go. This is also 9/16. Bolt and a nut. Right, now we got that spring to deal with that's going to be under some tension. There we go. That released the pressure. Okay, there's that assembly. And that's how that works. The bottom of this spring here goes up against the bottom of the frame. And then you got to push this down underneath like that. So to put this back in, I'm probably going to put this in a vise and close this up and put a zip tie on it to hold it, put it in as assembly, and then cut the zip tie. Now we can get this belt out. And now we're free to drop the blower. This spring that I put back on when we did the hydros is around the blower. So it's actually loose right now, but it's not coming out just because of that spring. So let me move that spring. Just comes right off here. So yeah, we'll include taking this hydro belt off as part of the deal. Why not? That way we got kind of better eyesight. Luckily, Walker mowers are easy to take belts off of. So we'll continue on. And there we go. So now all we got to do is we got to transfer that pulley, which could be fun. We might end up needing a puller for that. We'll see how that goes. And this bottom bracket, we got to bolt onto the new one. Okay, let's put that on the new one. Now what you want to make sure when you get your new blower is that it spins freely without hitting anything inside, because I've had some of these that in shipping, the propeller shaft will slide out and actually the blower will rub up against the edge of the case. So they even say in the box to make sure that it spins freely and there's no tight bind ups or anything. This one looks good, so we're in good shape. But that's something you want to keep an eye on when you do put this back together. There we go. Just had it on the wrong side. Okay. Now we've got to change this pulley over. Open-ended wrench can fit on these. That's a 3/8. Okay, yeah, 3/8. Let's see if that'll bite. Okay, I'm gonna grab myself a little puller. This definitely came off easy. I probably didn't even need the puller. I could have just tapped that. Would have come right off. This one has the key built in, or it's not built in, but it stayed in, so slide this puppy right on. You got to be careful when we push this down that we don't push the shaft, because as I said, you can push the shaft out and then the blades will end up hitting this. I've done that before where I went and tapped this pulley on, and what it did is it slid the shaft out of the bearing inside and ended up hitting when I turned it on, so I had to take the whole thing apart again to fix it. So the trick to around that is gonna take a nice deep socket. I'll go with this socket and extension, just so it holds pressure up against that. There we go. Okay, that's flush. Pretty much right where the other one was. Take our 3/8 and tighten up our little nuts. Set screws. ready to reinstall. Like I said, good chance to get all this built up grass in the tight areas that's hard to get to. Just get all this out. Snug that one up. Now, one thing I want to show, I've made this mistake in the past, and it's an easy mistake to make. That bolt right there that I just put in, there's a nut on the bottom. You want to make sure that it's in this direction. You don't put the bolt up through the bottom and put the nut on up here, because believe it or not, that nut just a little bit thicker is enough to interfere with this chute. So you want to have this just the way it is here. The bolt goes down through the top to the bottom, and then the nut goes right here. And then this one here is the opposite. You put the bolt up and the nut's up here. Snug these all down by hand. Just rely upon a power wrench, especially one like mine that doesn't seem to be giving it its all right now. Not sure what that's about. Okay. Got these little 7/16 that we started with at the beginning. Shed some light on the subject here. You want to be careful you don't over tighten those and snap them off, because they are a bear to get out. They're usually rusted inside the frame, and no sooner did I say that, this one is not. You can see how it's actually lifted up, but these are the bolts that go through the frame down into the blower housing. Move the camera under there and I'll show you where this other one is. Got that nice and snug. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this spring, going to do the whole thing together. Okay. Go ahead and tighten this down. Okay, you want to be careful when you're doing this so it doesn't go flying out. And we're going to go ahead and take the zip tie right through this hole. Okay, I'll do a second one just for good measure. Okay, now we've got a loaded spring, so we're going to go ahead and drop this puppy in before she lets go. So, put the nut on. There we go. And when I tighten that up, it actually broke the zip ties free. Pull those out of there. And now we got spring tension again. So go ahead and put the belt back on. All right, not too bad. My first Walker mower needed one of these. It's the same Walker mower that I still have. I paid $650 for. Now has over 10,000 hours and multiple everythings. And I remember it needed this blower. And at the time I thought it was such a big deal why I must have got it so cheap, because they must have been so hard to do. And I was up for the challenge and I learned how to do it, realized it wasn't that bad, And then pretty much from there on, Walker has been in my sights ever since. I don't think I've ever operated a landscape business without. Dropped you as I was putting the belt on, yeah? All right. So I just pulled this tensioner up, got that belt on. So we're up and running there. Got our blower installed. Now all we need to do is put that front chute on, which is this here. You want to make sure that this little bar is on the top and it's pointed down, just like that. It'll only line up one way anyways, but that's how it goes. All right, so as I said, this thing goes up. You can see up, and there's one of the bolts goes right there. I usually get that one started first because that's the easiest one to get to. And all these are 7/16 heads. Get all three started. That bolt that mounts the blower, where I mentioned that you have to slide it through the top or the nut will end up getting in the way. Let me give you a visual on that so you see what I'm talking about. Okay, so that's that nut right there, that bolt. And then the nut goes on the bottom. Right there. And you can see how close that is to the bottom of that shroud. If you end up by mistake putting this nut on here, the shroud won't line up. You'll have a hard time getting these bolts started. Ask me how I know. Obviously, I did it wrong once before. Okay, now what I like to do at the very end, well, I gotta close this video out with my iPhone because GoPros, just a pain in the neck. I don't know what's going on. Got a couple of memory cards that aren't full. It's saying they're full and the thing just died out on me. It's been running really, really hot. I think my GoPro Hero 9 is in need of repair. But anyways, back to where we are. All I did since the camera was shut off, hopefully, is explain that you want to tighten up those nuts on the blower to make sure they're tight. If you need to, you can kind of wedge a piece of wood in here to stop this from turning while you tighten it up. So we want to make sure that's all set. I went ahead and zip tied the throttle cable back into position where it goes. And so we're ready to fire it up and see how it goes. Here we go. All right. That's all there is to it, guys. Don't be afraid of changing this stuff yourself, okay? It's not that hard. Basic hand tools, probably an hour and a half, 2 hours total time. And now we're sitting with a nice new GHS blower, and if you watch my other video, the new hydro as well. And there's a new belt on there as well. So a couple other items I need to do before I ship this back to the owner. I just need to put a couple of bottom seals in. I already did a video on that for the deck, and put this new chute on. Just a couple of bolts right here to change that out. That's real simple to do in the spring. And other than that, I think I had this bolt here on the side of the motor that's broken off. I got to get out, and a basic service, I believe. Actually, I don't even think we're doing a basic service. We don't even need to do that. So, but that's it, guys. GHS blower, Walker MTGHS model. Quite a few other are similar. The diesel ones, I believe, are the same process. All right, thanks for watching. Have a good one.